Maverick News, the antivirus program for your mind. And now, the Freedom Reporters.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rick Walker. Welcome back to the Maverick News Channel. Hello, Maverick family and new viewers from all over the world. Lots going on tonight. The boss, the Wagner Group boss, he's dead. And we have Kevin Michelizzi joining us shortly to talk about that and give us the real story. He's our man on the ground over there. You may remember that attempted whatever it was, coup, uprising, whatever, I don't know. It was a little weird, but now, as I said before, I wouldn't want to be in his shoes, and now he's dead. So we'll tell you what happened, and you can draw your own conclusions. Also, Chrystia Freeland, Canada's Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister, who says she does not own a car, got caught speeding. Speed demon Chrystia. What else do we have for you tonight? Wildfire news and the GOP debate. We will give you a little preview of what's coming up. Tucker Carlson will be interviewing Donald Trump. That's pre-recorded. It will run at the same time as the debate. How are we going to cover both things? I don't know, but we're so good around here. We'll figure out a way. I'm going to have some help later in the show with that. And we're going to do a watch party. So if you're ready to partay, then stick around because it's going to be a fiesta around here. We'll get things started with Kevin on the other side of this, and we'll talk about what happened to the Wagner, the head of Wagner, the military organization that just a few weeks ago was on its way to Moscow.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
We are back and we are live, and we are now joined by Kevin Michelizzi. Hello, Kevin. How are you this evening? Thank you for joining us on the program again.
Hey, Rick. Good to be here. The pleasure is mine. Things are doing good. It's dark 30 here right now.
Yes. Yeah, very early in the morning. So I really appreciate you foregoing sleep to bring us the latest information on what has happened with the head of the Wagner Group, who is now, I guess, officially pronounced dead. What happened?
Allegedly dead.
Okay.
So I'm going to read a statement from the Wagner group themselves. They say, "We ask the media and friendly channels of PMC Wagner not to publish unverified data and messages regarding the advice of the commanders of PMC Wagner and the fate of Yevgeny Prigozhin." So what we have going on out there is an awful lot of misinformation. So we have the Russian press service announcing things that have been shown to be not true. We have a lot of Telegram channels, a lot of Western media, and there's a lot of stuff that just isn't known right now.
Yes, well, I have been kind of following it a bit through the day, and conflicting reports, a lot of uncertainty surrounding this, but let's take things just a step back. Well, you know what? Let's actually move forward and show people the video of what appears to be the crash scene. Can you assess this for us here? Do you have any idea what we're looking at here, and is this authentic?
Yeah, this is actually a video of the crash site.
Okay,
so not much left there. And this is important in all the news that you're hearing.
Right, and this was some sort of a private business jet of some kind that he was flying on?
Yeah, it was an Embrower business jet, one of two that he owned. And whether or not he was actually on this plane is debatable.
And
So-
why do you say that? Why is it debatable?
Well, what we know for a fact right now is that 8 bodies were found at the crash site. That means there's still 2 missing. Some places are reporting that 10 bodies have been found, but officially 8 bodies have been found at the crash site. And there were 10 people on board. So there's 2 people missing in all of this right at the moment. From sources in Russia, I'm being told that they found body parts, they've found, parts in the plane, out of the plane. So they don't really know how many they've found, but they're saying that they know of 8 people. There has been an investigation launched by the Federal Air Transport Agency in Russia. Representatives of law enforcement are on the site, but they aren't touching anything until the authorities from Moscow arrive. And the plane allegedly carried Evgeny Prigozhin. So those are the facts that we know definitely.
And where exactly is this crash site? Do you have a bead on the geographic location?
Yeah, it's between Moscow and St. Petersburg.
Okay.
So it's just a few hours flight.
I guess it isn't surprising that this is cloaked in a bit of mystery, given the circumstances surrounding this. Let's take people back and explain. I'll get you to kind of give the backstory on this and the coup or whatever it was that took place a number of weeks ago.
Yes, there was a coup by the Wagner group led by Prigozhin and his chief commander, Dmitry Utkin, who is also allegedly on this plane. They started an attack on Rostov-on-Don in southern Russia. They started moving towards Moscow, threatening the leadership of the Russian Federation. That was stopped by a call from Lukashenko in Belarus, who contacted Putin and Prigozhin, and he negotiated a cease of the operation and negotiated allowing Prigozhin and the men who did not want to join the Russian Federation armed forces to go to Belarus. And that was exactly 2 months ago. So at the time, Vladimir Putin said that he would forgive their betrayal to the Russian Federation, but the men who did not want to officially join the armed forces of Russia, because it is illegal for a private military company to operate on Russian soil. So Prigozhin had lost his business contract and his income. So they made that agreement. Guys who didn't want to join the military went to Belarus, but then Prigozhin went against the deal and was found in St. Petersburg again. And for the last 2 months, he's been flying back and forth between Russia, Belarus, and Africa. So, there's rumors that Putin may have had him eliminated. And I just say rumors because I don't buy into that.
Why? Because you think Vladimir Putin is too nice? Or you just think it's too conspiratorial, or what? Why?
I think it's too conspiratorial. I really don't think that he's going to order the Russian Federation armed forces to use a man-pads to shoot down one of Prigozhin's planes, and just happens to know which plane he's on. One of the guys on this plane was Valery Chekolov, and he is the guy that is the only one in the Wagner group that knows Prigozhin's travel plans, which of the two planes he will be on, the routes that the planes are flying. So he's the only one who knows the logistics of the travel. And he was on the plane that was downed as well.
Well, I was watching that interview earlier today with Scott Ritter on another program, and he said that whatever happens, whatever the facts might be surrounding this, there will be nothing linking this back to Putin. I'm not exactly why he said that, other than maybe he's just in the same camp as you and you think it's too conspiratorial.
Yeah, as Scott said, he thinks Prigozhin had it coming. Putin does not forgive betrayal and treason, but whatever has been linked back to Putin, he's been accused of a lot of people's deaths, but you don't find any proof anywhere. The Ukrainians are already taking credit for shooting it down, and and we know that's highly unlikely. So I've seen rumors that a military jet shot it. Oh, gee, there were 2 booms. What people need to realize is when a plane blows up for whatever reason in midair, you're going to hear some booms. They carry a lot of fuel on them. And the second plane, there were rumors going on that there was something goofy going on, because the second plane was zigzagging around and flying in circles around Moscow. They were burning fuel.
Interesting. And there is other video out there, but you're telling me that before we came on the air, you're telling me that some of the other videos that are circulating may not be the
correct.
real deal.
Yeah, correct. It's been verified that at least one of the videos, this one I don't know. This is a fairly reliable source, but again, I don't know on this one. We have another one that's been verified that it was actually the downing of one of the aircraft by the Wagner forces 2 months ago. And some analysis of the bad video actually shows that it was not an Embraer, because it had engines on the wings and not on the fuselage behind the wings.
And I think this is the video that you said is really going around. It is not It is not accurate. This is old video.
Yes, this is the old
Пиздец,
one.
это беспилотник. Сбили, бабахнуло 2 раза, взорвалось, падает. Ты посмотри, падает.
And we won't translate that Russian.
Okay. And yeah, when I look at that, it doesn't even look the same as the other video.
Куда он?
Correct.
Тут куски летят.
It's a different plane.
Yep.
And there's a still photo of the crash.
And this thing was loaded with fuel. It isn't that far outside of Moscow. So, you know, what is on the site really is going to be hard to determine. It's going to require DNA evidence to tell who was on the plane. A lot of the reports saying that Prigozhin was on this plane comes from the Russian Federal Air Transport Agency. And it's based on the fact that they published the passenger list, and Prigozhin was on that passenger list. But that doesn't necessarily mean he was on the plane. He is well known for at the last minute swapping planes that he's flying in. And it's a rare occasion that he and Utkin fly on the same plane. Very rare occasion. So there's questions about, was he on the second plane that went back to Moscow? Nobody really knows.
Interesting.
And we
So
won't
here-
know. We won't know until somebody takes DNA evidence.
Right. Here in the West, the media is reporting it as though it's a done deal. It's a fact that he's dead. Those are the headlines tonight in mainstream media.
Yeah, well, let's keep in mind that he died in a plane crash. You know, this is the second time he's died in a plane crash. So,
Isn't that right? When was the last time he died?
Oh, I don't remember exactly when it was, but there were reports of him dying in a plane crash back several months ago.
Man, he's going to be like a new Elvis. We'll have sightings all over the place before you know.
Hey, the ghost of Kiev.
So if he is dead, where would this leave the members of the Wagner unit?
The Wagner group actually has a contingency plan in place if Prigozhin passes away for some reason. You know, the bad thing for them is the guys on the passenger list were a majority of the senior leaders of the group, but they do have contingency plans. The remaining leaders of Wagner are currently meeting in St. Petersburg at the Wagner Center. They've got the windows lit up in the sign of the cross. This is another thing people are using to say, oh, it's definitely he's dead, but, you know, it could just be that they're honoring, you know, whoever was on the plane.
Yeah. So the troops are up in Belarus for the most part now, right?
They have some of the troops up in Belarus. There were reports that a big transport plane was sent to Belarus to evacuate them from the country, but that's been proven false as well. There's a good number of them in Africa still.
And it was just yesterday or the day before, there was a video released of Prigozhin in Africa. So I saw it here. This is odd, actually. They said that he had surfaced and finally was appearing in a video talking about the Wagner Group activities in Africa. And now here we are just a short time later with this story. Do you find that odd, or is there anything to be made of that?
He's a businessman. He goes where money can be made. You know, I saw some comments in the chat earlier before we came on the air, and somebody was saying, oh, it would be impossible for him to be outside of Moscow because he was just streaming from Africa. Reality is it's only a 7-hour flight in one of these business jets, 6.5 hours maybe.
Yeah.
So, it's not far-fetched. And he's known to be everywhere.
How much of a liability really had he become for Putin? Did we lose you? Did we freeze up there, Kevin? I think maybe we lost his feed. So that was the question. That is the question, is how much of a problem had Prigozhin with the Wagner group really become for Vladimir Putin? Yeah, we lost him. I think he'll be back. I hope he comes back. Man, the internet, not good. I'll tell you what. Okay, here he comes. And he's back. There he is. So we lost you there for a moment, Kevin. But my question was, had Prigozhin really become a liability or a problem for Putin to the point where it seemed like a bit of an embarrassment when those troops were on their way to Moscow?
Yeah. If you look at 2023 alone, he was an embarrassment in general. He was constantly jumping up and down that he had no weapons, no ammunition, no support from the Russian military, yet he had enough stuff to march on Moscow. So, there were bad things between him and Shoigu, all of the leadership. So he was an embarrassment. The march on Moscow, the thing about Vladimir Putin is he never forgives somebody who betrays him. So he may have allowed him to go to Belarus, and had he stayed there, he probably would have been fine. But his flying back and forth to St. Petersburg and going to these other countries, all business-based. He's a businessman, or was, as the case may be. And it was an embarrassment because he made a deal with Putin. Putin said, go to Belarus, stay there. And he didn't. So he was basically thumbing his nose at Putin.
Well, I said before I wouldn't want to be in his shoes.
Yeah, there's not a lot of Russians, I think you will find, that will miss him at all.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in Moscow last time, I actually saw people outside the Duma protesting against him.
He was that unpopular.
Yes. He was. They consider him a traitor.
A traitor.
Yeah, you don't march on your own people.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, even though his troops performed very well in this conflict in Ukraine, I can certainly understand why some people would view it that way, because it was an international embarrassment in that short period of time where those troops were on their way to Moscow. And, it was difficult for people to make sense of it. It was called many different things, but any way you slice it, he was misbehaving.
He was. And all of it, and all this rants that he posted online, were all about the fact that he lost his contract to fight in Donbass, because once Russia took Donbass as Russian territory, he was operating illegally.
Right. Funny how war always seems to come down to profit for some people.
For somebody, yeah.
Yeah, that's terrible.
We won't mention the United States or... Gee, what did I do?
So, Kevin, is there anything else you'd like to add or think that I might be missing with regard to this story?
No, let me scroll through the latest notes I got coming in here just to make sure. No, I have nothing more to add on this other than a saying I heard our good friend Scott Ritter say once when he was quoting somebody else: don't believe it until you see the dead body. And I'm sure in the next 24 to 48 hours, we will see DNA evidence come out. I'm guessing that they will probably confirm that he is dead. So I'm not saying he is alive, but, you know, it could be theater as well. So, you know, never go off of circumstantial evidence. Go with what you know, make informed decisions, and wait until you get a little bit more of the picture.
Well, I'll tell you, after watching some of the other coverage of this thus far, I'm so grateful to you coming on to share your information and perspective with us, because I think that you have been the most careful and, as a result, the most credible source of information on this very story. And I'm really appreciative. Kevin, tell people again how they can find more of you and your content online.
You can find all of my channels listed on the web address down here. There we are. Infowars.press is my website. And that links out to my channels. We actually stream Maverick News to get Rick's word out there for him. And that's the best place to find us.
Not Infowars like Alex Jones Infowars, Infowars.press.
Yes.
That's where you'll find Kevin.
Actually,
a totally different deal.
Yeah. Information warfare analysis, but.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Kevin Michelizzi. Truly appreciate you spending the time here.
I appreciate you having me on.
Okay. All right, folks, there you have it. Kevin Michelizzi, and that's the real deal. If you want the facts, you got the facts. You want other stuff, you're going to have to go someplace else, because we're going to stick to that. Stay with me, and I will return right after this.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News. The antivirus program for your mind.
Okay, so other stuff going on. What shall we talk about first? How about, we're going to get into these leaders of the BRICS nations meeting, and I'm going to talk about why, as much as people think there is this huge difference between, political leaders, dictators, whatever, different governments, I'm going to explain, and this what I'm going to show you tonight is going to show you that there's maybe not as much of a difference as people think. So just so much the same, doesn't matter where you go, but I'll show you. And Chrystia Freeland, Canada's Deputy Prime Minister. We'll talk about this first. This is ridiculous. Okay, this is the thumbnail. She says she doesn't own a car, right? The Deputy Prime Minister of Canada. This was a couple weeks ago. And she's all in on, climate change all the time. She gets chauffeured around. She got a speeding ticket. So there she is. Oh my God. Chrystia Freeland. She got a speeding ticket. She was doing 138 or 142 kilometers an hour. I don't know what the speed limit was. There was either probably 80 kilometers or 100. It was out in Alberta, her home province. And she got a speeding ticket. She says, I won't do it again, I promise. Let me show you. Oh, I shouldn't even laugh because it's sort of not even funny. Yeah. So she has confirmed that she got a speeding ticket. She was driving between Grand Prairie and Peace River, got pulled over. She says, I was driving too fast. I won't do it again. $273 fine, 132. Speed limit out there is 110. So she was only doing 12 over. No, 22 over. Right? Yep. 22 kilometers an hour over the speed limit. See, they'll kind of give you, in most provinces, up to about 20 over. They won't pull you over. You go past 20 over, and you're going to get yourself a ticket, maybe. She was doing 22. Oops. Got caught. Uh-huh. So apparently she's paid this thing off already in full. It's like chump change for her, $273. Yeah. Said last month that she does not own a car. And in the context of gas and carbon pricing, she's been doing a lot of virtue signaling in that regard. And now, I don't even know what kind of car. It's not clear what kind of car it even was that she was driving. I bet you it wasn't electric. And I can tell you, as someone who reviews cars, the faster you drive, the more fuel you burn, the less efficient it is. So she wasn't driving to save the planet. She has a heavy foot. It was pedal to the metal, baby. Speed demon. Christian Freeland. Oh, yeah. Baby. That's cruise. Oh, man. Hypocrite or what? I had to show it to you. I know it's big news in Canada. Maybe other people don't think it's a big deal, but she thinks she's a pretty big deal here in Canada. And she's throwing her support behind, those Canadian Banderites, links to Nazism, fascism. Anyway, she likes her speed, man. Speed demon. Demonic Deputy Prime Minister. The lead foot. Look at that expression, eh? Just in case you're wondering, that's not really a real picture. That's kind of fake, but it's still pretty funny. The speeding ticket's very real, though. You think she learned her lesson? Probably not. Probably not. A bit of a public embarrassment. If she learned anything, it's like, don't get caught next time. Uh-huh. This is somebody who jets around the world, goes to Davos, gets chauffeured around just about everywhere she goes, but she was out there in Alberta, got her hands on a car, I'm assuming it was a rental, and got a speeding ticket. Way to go, Christian. It is kind of a little bit nauseating, really, because, she sits and preaches to other people about driving. So many other, how many people make the kind of coin she makes? Very few. And she's like, oh, the higher gas prices would be a very good thing for the environment. Yeah, well, you try making ends meet, try to feed your family, try to get to work, and try to cope. It's not fun. Times are tough out there, Christian. And I'm sorry if we're having a little bit of a chuckle at your expense tonight. You're in the public eye. Comes with the territory, but you know that. Sorry. Just got to roll with it. India has successfully landed on the moon. Yeah. On the south pole of the moon, first to do it. Huge achievement. So a lot of people applauding India and what it has been able to achieve. I have photos here of this lunar lander thingy majiggy that they landed on there. There it is. There's a picture of it. India's lunar lander on the south pole of the moon. I guess they think that there might be resources there. And most importantly, they're looking for what they think could be water, maybe frozen water embedded in rocks that they're thinking they might be able to release with future manned missions. And if they can do that, they might be able to actually harvest the resources that might be present there, so that they can turn that into maybe even things like rocket fuel, or use the moisture to sort of terraform some areas up there, do whatever they think they're going to do, or use it to help facilitate sort of a base of some kind, right? Set up a base, I don't know, on the South Pole. It's got to be pretty cold, I would think. And I know some of you are probably sitting there saying right now, they didn't really go to the South Pole of the moon, they're making it up. And I have to admit that when I look at that picture, it kind of looks fabricated. I hate to say it, but it sort of does. The flag in particular looks a little bit wavy. But I'm going to assume, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, I'm going to assume that this is real and that they really did do it, and that they didn't just take a picture of a model or something on a table in some guy's basement. We're going to say that's the real deal, okay? Oh no, we never went to the moon. Well, there's the moon. And then in the very next shot, see, there it is on the moon, so it must be true. I think they went to the moon. I think they did. I think they made it. The Russians were trying to do the same thing. They were in a sort of a space race to the South Pole of the moon, and the Russian craft crashed. It had a bit of a mishap. I mentioned that a couple of days ago. The Russians looked like they were a little bit ahead, but then they ran into some trouble, and their spaceship went kaboom. And I thought it was kind of sad because I think it was last Friday that happened. Yeah, no, Monday. It was Monday. And I noticed a lot of the mainstream media. Well, I was listening to the radio that day a lot and picking up stations out of Ohio and Michigan. And some of the AM talk shows were sort of cheering, applauding the failure of Russia. Instead of saying, better luck next time, good effort. It was like, the Russians can't do anything right. They suck. No wonder it crashed. Everything they make sucks. I did notice the negative overtones. Unfortunate. But I'll tell you, the people of India are proud, and we had the leaders of the BRICS nations have come together to discuss the future of the global economy, and specifically this new economic system that they are setting up, this new currency that they are setting up that will be backed by gold. And while there, they actually all applauded India's effort and congratulated them for successfully landing this craft on the moon, on the South Pole of the moon, which in itself is quite an achievement. And as I watched these opening remarks, I came to the conclusion that I've come to many times, and that is that regardless of where you travel in the world, regardless of what government you elect in your home country, there are so many similarities from country to country to country to country than there are differences that it's worth mentioning. And it's on full display at this summit of the BRICS nations leaders that is taking place. And it was very apparent during these opening remarks. And the reason I bring this up is I know that especially people in our group, our family, our community, our viewers, you guys, a lot of you are hopeful even that maybe Vladimir Putin is standing against this globalist agenda. And in some respects, he is. I mean, his politics certainly is more conservative and even in alignment, it seems, with my own personal views when it comes to political ideology these days, in many ways. But when you listen to him speak, and then you listen to some of the other leaders speak, I'm seeing more and more similarities. Now, there is absolutely a divide here, and this creation of a new currency, a gold-backed international currency exchange system, the BRICS nations, right? It's an economic system, and the money's going to be backed by gold, and it's an alternative to the US dollar, which is a big problem. Honestly, it's going to be a big problem for us once they get this thing going. And that's what this summit is about. But when you listen to them speak during these opening remarks, I'm seeing and I'm hearing a lot of the same rhetoric that we hear from leaders in the West. So when you're talking about central bank digital currencies, when you're talking about 15-minute cities, digital IDs, all of these things, same stuff's coming up with these guys too. Let me just roll some of what Putin had to say first of all. He spoke via video call during this conference, and just listen to what he had to say. Now, his tone is a bit different than some of the others. Okay, he's going to focus on the war in Ukraine. That's important because from that, it then blends into a discussion or comments about this new BRICS economic system involving these BRICS nations like India, Iran, Russia, China. Okay, there are a bunch of others. And there are a whole bunch of other countries that want to join the BRICS nations. The intention here is to decouple and become decouple from the US dollar and create a challenging economic system and a currency that can challenge the US dollar that is sorry, I'm getting a message here. Apparently there's something wrong with the microphone. I'm not sure. Let me just bring this here. And I can't hear myself. Let me go to the chat here and tell me, folks, is there an audio problem here with this microphone? I don't know what it is. Let me, weird. Okay, it's an echo. Feedback, reverb. I need to hear it. Hang on. I know what it is. Maybe. Could be that. Does that fix it? Is it gone now? Is that gone? Sounds a little tinny. I don't know. Let me come over here. I'm sorry, folks, for the delay, but let me make sure I've got this audio issue fixed. Or maybe it's off mic. Is that what it is? I'm guessing. I'm thinking it's probably off mic. That's what it is. We've lost the microphone connection. All right, I'm going to take a quick break and fix the audio. I'll be right back.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay. I believe that fixed it. Yeah. That probably fixed it, right? I'll just check. Better? Better audio? Right on. Okay, we got her fixed. Thank you, Leo and others, for alerting me to that. The problem was that the computer had to reboot just before we went to air, and it did not reconnect the microphone to the system. So it was picking up a little tiny microphone, a secondary microphone, which is off in the distance. But now we're ready to rock and roll again. So I don't remember exactly where I was, but yeah, the BRICS nations setting up this alternative economic system, alternative currency, challenging the US dollar as the world reserve currency. But when you listen to these guys, well, Putin was a little bit different, I have to admit. His messaging focuses on the war, which shows that there's an economic component to everything going on. But let's just tune in. Here we go.
For the benefit of all. So thank you very much for your remarks in that regard. It is now my pleasure to ask President Vladimir Putin to have his moment to speak. He'll be participating through the virtual platform.
Thanks a lot. President Ramaphosa, distinguished President Lula, distinguished Prime Minister Modi, President Xi, dear colleagues, at the outset, I would like to thank South African friends for what they have done during their presidency, during their chairmanship this year. The colleagues before me have already given positive assessment of the BRICS activities. And in general, certainly we share these assessments. Our group of 5 countries has rightly proved to be a credible entity on the global arena with ever-growing influence in global affairs. The strategic course of BRICS is aimed at the future, and it meets the aspirations of the main part of the international community, the so-called global majority. By acting in concert on the principles of equality, partnership, support, and account for each other's interests, we deal with the most pressing issues of global and regional agenda. The main important thing is that BRICS stands for a multipolar world order that is equitable and built on international law and the principles of the United Nations Charter, including respect for the right of every people to its own development path. Some countries promote their hegemony, exceptionality, and their policy of the ongoing colonialism and neocolonialism. I would like to note that the aspiration to preserve their hegemony in the world led to a dire crisis in Ukraine. At first, with the help of Western countries, an anti-constitutional coup d'etat was carried out in this country. After that, those people who did not agree with this coup faced a war. A war was unleashed against them, a war of attrition, and it lasted for 8 years. Russia decided to support people that fight for their culture, for their traditions, for their language and their future. Our actions in Ukraine are guided by only one thing: to put an end to the war that was unleashed by the West against people in Donbass. We thank our colleagues within BRICS that take an active part in the attempts to put an end to this situation and to ensure just settlement by peaceful means. Dear colleagues, the main thing is that we unanimously stand for the shaping of the multipolar world order, which is genuinely equitable and which is building on international law. The BRICS countries are building up their potential. As was said, the BRICS countries are home to over 3 billion persons, and their share in global GDP as per purchasing power parity of the so-called G7. Over the past decades, BRICS investment to global economy have doubled, and the cumulative export reached 20% of the overall indicator. We are successfully implementing the strategy for BRICS Economic Partnership 2025. Namely, we are strengthening the bilateral cooperation on such areas as diversification of supply chains, de-dollarization and transfer to local currencies in our mutual settlements, digital economy, support for small and medium enterprises, just transfer of technologies, and naturally, the active part in these processes is played by business community. A great deal of effort is invested within the BRICS Business Council and the BRICS Women's Business Alliance that the host of our meeting, President Ramaphosa, indicated. The leaders of these organizations are present at this meeting. An important priority for the BRICS interaction is the establishment of new sustainable, safe transport routes. In my address to the BRICS Business Forum, I talked about the importance of a speedy development of transcontinental routes, such as the North-South corridor that would link Russian Northern Sea and Baltic ports to sea terminals in the Gulf and in the Indian Ocean. In the future, it would ensure the annual transit of up to 30 million tons of cargo. We believe that it is high time to establish a BRICS Permanent Commission on Transport that would deal not only with the North-South project, but in broader terms, it would deal with logistics and transport corridors development, both interregional and global ones. Should the partners agree to that, the Russian side could work on this idea within its chairmanship in 2024. And certainly, we welcome strengthened interaction within BRICS in terms of global innovations. We look forward to a more active cooperation within the BRICS Global Research Advanced Infrastructure Network. It could be supported and developed by the Special Trust Fund. For its part, Russia is ready to share its experience and best practices, including when it comes to digital transformation and the use of artificial intelligence. We also seek to actively participate in the implementation of the achieved arrangements on the establishment of the Joint Working Group on Nuclear Medicine. We seek to swiftly switch into practice the work of the BRICS TVET Cooperation Alliance. We wholeheartedly support the proposal of South African colleagues to organize a separate ministerial on women affairs. Their role in political, economic, and social life of our states should definitely be enhanced. Dear colleagues, next year, Russia will assume BRICS chairmanship. Our chairmanship will have the following motto: strengthening multilateralism for just global development and security. We plan to have some 200 political, economic, and public events that will be hosted by over a dozen Russian cities. At the same time, the BRICS summit is scheduled for October 2024. It will take place in the city of Kazan. The specific dates will be agreed upon with colleagues via diplomatic channels. We'll also have events in the format that has proved its relevance. I'm talking about BRICS Plus and BRICS Outreach. During our chairmanship, we would like to do our utmost to efficiently facilitate the implementation of decisions adopted at this summit, including with regard to the expansion of BRICS. We will coordinate closely with partners on foreign policy matters. We will jointly work on key international platforms, primarily within the United Nations. We will continue regular meetings of BRICS national security advisors. Certainly, we will prioritize such urgent tasks as combating terrorism and the spread of terrorist ideology, as well as combating money laundering and return of assets gained by criminal means. By the way, we thank partners for their support within the Financial Action Task Force. We hope that we will keep such spirit of solidarity in the future. We will contribute to comprehensive implementation of the Strategy for BRICS Economic Partnership 2025 and the development of new long-term guidelines for cooperation. This includes, in our view, increasing the role of states in international monetary and financial system, the development of interbank cooperation, expanding the use of local currencies, and deepening interaction between tax, customs, and anti-monopoly agencies. Naturally, Russian priorities include bolstered partnership in science and innovation, healthcare, education, the development of humanitarian ties in general. Cultural and civilizational diversity is one of the pillars of the new multipolar world order, and it means the establishment of integral free space for cultural exchange, art, and creativity. As we see it, it's high time for partners within BRICS, as well as the SCO and the Community of Independent States and other countries, to have a serious conversation on the future of culture in the world, on preserving and multiplying global cultural heritage. By the way, such dialogue could be held within the 9th International Cultural Forum, which is scheduled to take place in the city of St. Petersburg from November 16th to 18th. And certainly, Russia will continue to contribute to contacts in sports and youth exchanges. Namely, in June 2024, we plan to have the BRICS Games. We would be happy to welcome teams from the BRICS nations at the next year's international competition, the Games of the Future. They will take place in the city of Kazan. This is a mix of dynamic sports and popular video games and technological devices. A good opportunity for contacts and friendly talks will be given by the World Youth Festival that will take place in March next year in the city of Sochi. In conclusion, let me once again highlight that Russia, during its chairmanship, will interact in the most constructive way with BRICS partners in order to further enhance the role and credibility of BRICS. Without any doubt, this credibility will only grow. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, so that's Putin. He kind of represents, I would say, the alternative, as much of a difference as you're going to get. And that's because he embraces a multipolar future. We have a number of powerful countries, each of them sovereign, each of them independent. He favors a future where traditional international law prevails, where the status quo on international law, if you will, prevails. If you want to call it natural law or maritime law or whatever you might want to call it, it's the natural order of things as countries interact with each other and established through a common set of agreed upon standards and then international agreements from nation to nation on an individual basis, or in some cases, groups of nations coming together, which is what you're seeing here with BRICS. But on the other side, on the US side, on the Western side, the UK, Canada, United States, the NATO countries, they advocate for this new rules-based international order, which is to say that they put pen to paper and have written up a bunch of laws that are sort of above and beyond or separated from or layered on top of the established normal naturally occurring laws that have been established over time based on a set of morals and standards and agreements and precedents that have been set over time as disputes between nations have been resolved. They've got their own set of rules layered on top of that. That's what the West advocates for. I can see sort of both sides of the argument, but what the West really advocates for is a globalist approach to this, where really they're kind of at the head of the table with the rest of the world sitting around and all adhering to one set of rules, a global set of rules. And in that way, it brings it all under this umbrella of a one world government. So that is kind of basically the difference in the two worldviews, and Putin again highlighting the Western approach that he is opposed to that has led to this conflict in Ukraine, talking about the Western hegemony, colonialism, neo-colonialism, expansion of NATO when they promised they wouldn't after the fall of the Berlin Wall. The West promised they wouldn't expand, but they did, taking another country and another country and another country until now they're right up on Russia's doorstep. That is the difference. But these BRICS nations, which really do represent a serious threat to the West, a serious threat to you, actually, and to me and our economic well-being, because if they are successful in establishing this new economic system with maybe half the world attached to it, it will reduce dependence on the US dollar, reduce demand for US dollars. Less demand means the value of the US dollar is going to tank in all likelihood. And that means that the price of everything for us here in the West will skyrocket. The jig is up. That's why these guys represent such a huge threat to the West. Do you really think that this war in Ukraine is just about democracy? No. It's about money. It's about power. It's about control. It's about that dollar. It's about finding a way to undermine what these countries are doing. And it's not saying it's the only reason, but it's certainly part of what's going on over in Ukraine right now. And yet, through all of this, I come back to what I was saying. There are always more similarities from country to country and government to government than you probably realize. Here's the leader of India. I believe that's who we've got up next. And listen to what he has to say. Listen to his language. And I think you will find some very serious similarities and comments echoing what leaders here in the West are speaking of. These globalists, these neoliberals who advocate for everything woke, everything politically correct, everything digital, a digital future. You hear what I'm saying? Here we go.
We have had many achievements during this journey. Our new development bank is playing an important role in the development of the countries of the global south. Through its contingency reserve arrangement, we have created a financial safety net. Through initiatives such as the BRICS satellite constellation, the vaccine R&D center, mutual recognition of pharma products, we are bringing about positive changes in the lives of ordinary citizens in BRICS countries. Through initiatives such as the Youth Summit, BRICS Games, the Think Tanks Council, we are strengthening people-to-people ties between all countries. In order to give the BRICS agenda new direction, India has given some suggestions, such as the Railway Research Network, the online BRICS database, close cooperation between MSMEs, and a startup forum. I am pleased that significant progress has been made in all these areas. Excellencies, in order to further expand our close cooperation, I would like to place before you a few suggestions. The first is cooperation in the area of space. We have already been working on a BRICS satellite constellation. Taking a step forward, we can think about creating a BRICS space exploration consortium. Under this, we can work on areas such as space research and weather monitoring for global good. My second suggestion is cooperation in the areas of education, skill development, and technology.
Self-employed in Canada?
Here we go.
In order to make BRICS a future-ready organization, we must make our societies future-ready. Technology can play an important role in this regard. In order to provide access to education for children living in remote and rural areas in India, we have created the Diksha platform, that is digital infrastructure for knowledge sharing. At the same time, in order to promote innovation among school children, we have created 10,000 Atal Tinkering Labs across the country in order to remove language barriers. An AI-based language platform, Bhashini, is being used. The CoWIN platform has been made to manage vaccinations through our digital public infrastructure, that is the India Stack. Public service delivery is being revolutionized. Diversity is one of India's greatest strengths. The solution to any problem found in India has withstood the test of this diversity, and therefore These solutions can easily be implemented in any part of the world. In this regard, we will be pleased to share with BRICS partners all these platforms developed in India. My third suggestion is that in order to identify each other's strengths, we can carry out together a skills mapping exercise. Through this, we can complement each other in the development journey. My fourth suggestion relates to big cats. In all 5 BRICS countries, various species of big cats can be found in large numbers. Under the International Big Cat Alliance, we can make joint efforts for their protection. My fifth suggestion relates to traditional medicine. All our countries have traditional medicine ecosystems. Can we together create a repository of traditional medicine? Excellencies, under South Africa's presidency, countries of the Global South have been given special importance in BRICS. We heartily welcome this. This is not just an expectation of the present times, but a necessity as well. Under its G20 presidency, India has given this subject the highest priority. Based on our core value, one earth, one family, one future, we are making efforts to move forward together with all countries. In the Voice of Global South Summit organized in January earlier this year, 125 countries participated and shared their concerns and priorities. We have also proposed permanent membership for the African Union in the G20. I am confident that all BRIC partners are also together in the G20 and that all will support our proposal. Giving a special place to all these efforts within BRICS as well will further boost the morale of countries of the Global South. Excellencies, India fully supports the expansion of BRICS membership, and we welcome moving forward on this based on consensus. In 2016, during India's presidency, we had defined BRICS as a group building responsive, inclusive, and collective solutions. 7 years later, we can say that BRICS will be breaking barriers, revitalizing economies, inspiring innovation, creating opportunities, and shaping the future. Together with all BRICS partners, we will continue to contribute actively to make this new definition meaningful. Thank you.
There you go. So, you know, what did you hear in there? What did you hear? I'll tell you what I heard. I heard diversity is our strength. Where do you hear that all the time? Justin Trudeau. See, don't have to go far to find the same flavor of ice cream. And everyone's worried about a central bank digital currency. Well, this is going to be digitized. It will be backed by gold, but still digitized. So you're not getting away from it there either. Oh, yes. And digital ID is tied directly to vaccinations in India. This is a global thing. And yet these are the countries, these are the BRICS nations, right? India's not totally out of the loop on the Western side. They kind of play both sides. But there they are with digital IDs, digital infrastructure to facilitate vaccinations, to track the vaccinations, catalog everything. It's more efficient for them. And I'm not from India, so I don't know how much of an invasion of privacy that might be, or what other ethical, moral issues might arise from that in that country. But again, you don't have to go too far to find the same flavor of ice cream. And artificial intelligence. We're all worried about AI, but all these countries, every country is working on artificial intelligence, like it or not. It's coming. It's here. It will soon displace many people from their jobs. There's even discussion of climate change at this summit. There's also talk of these big cats concerned about the environment, concerned about protecting big cats, which are threatened. Their existence is threatened because of environmental issues, issues of conservation, natural conservation, and so on. And I heard that word equity thrown around. Even Putin used the word equity. Equity is different than equality. It's a word that, in my view, is misused, misunderstood, and is in many ways dangerous because people embrace it thinking they're talking about equality. But what equity really means is reparations, largely, because what the ideology is behind that is that in some way you have to pay for the sins of the fathers, of your forefathers, of people who came before you, your ancestors, because you're benefiting from the capital gains, essentially, over time of the assets that they acquired. And according to that ideology here in the West, neoliberal wokeism, neoliberal Marxism, the idea is that that those assets were stolen, whether it was the land or anything else that you have, and that the overall wealth that you have was amplified through interest and leverage and productive leverage over time and passed down generationally into your hands. And so you are benefiting today from the wealth that was accumulated earlier, with the idea being that much of that wealth, if not all of it, was stolen. And therefore you must provide reparations. And you can believe that, buy into it or not, but that's what equity really means. It's like over time you build equity in your house, and it can appreciate in value depending on market conditions. And I'm not talking about the inflated value. There can be actual increase in real value as well. And if you believe in equity as being important in terms of social engineering, then get ready to pay up. But there it is, even within these BRICS nations, in Russia, in China, and they're using the same language, advocating for the same political, I would say, social engineering. A little bit different, maybe from country to country, but embracing a lot of the same things. And all the things that you think you're trying to, oppose here. And, some of you might think that it's not a problem over there. It's the same. And it's not just because of political ideology. It's because of technology. The technology is evolving. It's coming again, whether we like it or not. And every country is being forced to adopt it and deal with it, cope with it. Whether it's artificial intelligence, satellite technology, the internet, whatever it is. All of these technologies are disruptive. And every country is forced to deal with it, because if even one country develops new technology like artificial intelligence, it gives them a huge advantage. That's why I've said too, especially for people within the freedom movement, who I'm hearing some people say, we need to prep. I need to get my bug out bag ready so that when the you know what hits the fan, I'm going to run into the woods, build a lean-to, and escape. And then I'll be okay. I'll just get away from it all. I'll run away from my house and go live in the well, good luck. And some people want to go live in a tiny home, or they want to live off the grid. And I guess, there's a lot that is positive and good things you can say about some of that stuff. But at the same time, when you do that, you're actually doing exactly what the globalists want you to do. You end up with less. Instead of living in a nice big house, you live in a teeny tiny house. Instead of having a car, you're living in the woods in a lean-to, eating beans out of a can that you've heated in a tiny little fire or something. You're camping out in the winter. That's not a solution. Not really. That's why these countries around the world, they don't want to live in a lean-to. They want modern societies where people are gainfully employed, children are educated. Every country wants better things, or you think anyway. Better things for their people, right? If they're true leaders. Maybe not all of them. Some of them think that there are too many people. We know that. But overall, some of these folks do want good things, or so they say. I kept going around in circles. But my point here is that every country, it's like, well, you just have to deal with the technology. Because and this is the other reason I think that, the freedom movement is making gains, and on some fronts we are winning. Quite often I look and I just see people getting their butts kicked. And it's because of that mentality, right? It's like, we have to get back to nature. Okay, we can't, I'm not going to live in the city. I'm going to go live in the woods. Well, we're embracing those kinds of ideas where it's like, let's just run away and we'll go live with no electricity and we won't be dependent on government. Well, we're doing that. We've got this going on the other side. Like, they have literally artificial intelligence. They have robots. Here, let me show you what I'm talking about. Here it is right here. Okay, so you're going to go live in the woods and think you're defeating the globalists. And I'm not saying everybody's, I'm just saying I've heard some people talk like this, okay? You've got a community garden and you're going to do battle with the globalists, and nothing wrong with a community garden. But I think we need to do a little bit better than that, because they've got this on their side. This is what they've been working through.
Kde postoupil do druhé.
I like to play ping pong, but I don't know if I could beat that robot. Wow.
Kde
What do they call that guy? That robot. What do they call him? The Terminator? Kind of looks like the Terminator. Science fiction coming true. That's real. Like I've said for a long time, you want to survive what's coming? Better learn to use what's coming to your advantage. We can't be afraid of it. We have to embrace it as well. And we need to confront it head on and make sure that it's used in a responsible way. Put pressure on government, on regulators, put pressure on the creators of these new technologies like artificial intelligence to develop it responsibly. We need to put pressure on legislators to make sure that new laws that are crafted or existing laws that are massaged are done are changed in such a way that they address the ethical questions, the societal questions that come with these new technologies. Every revolution, whether it's the industrial revolution or the digital revolution, they're all very disruptive. It's difficult for people to see into the future and understand what the ramifications of a new technology might be, whether it's the development of the printing press or the development of social media. Who would have actually predicted that we are where we're at right now? A few people, but not a lot. And even when we have been warned in the past by people who do have a lot of foresight, people like Aldous Huxley in A Brave New World or George Orwell with 1984, or Heinlein, or you name the futurist, a lot of those warnings of things coming in the future have gone unheeded, not taken seriously enough. And so we're sitting here now, shell-shocked, with most people not even understanding how far along we already are with these new technologies, especially artificial intelligence. That is expanding at an exponential rate. Just within the last couple of months, I've seen a massive shift where people and companies and governments are embracing it and using it more than ever before. And if you think that what you're seeing is giving you some accurate perspective, think again, because I'm telling you, governments, military, they have already embraced this stuff, and they're using it in unprecedented ways to gain advantage domestically, internationally. Political parties are using it. You can bet your bottom dollar they are. Do you think Justin Trudeau isn't using artificial intelligence and the Liberal Party to gain political advantage? Of course they are. Do you think Joe Biden isn't using it? Of course he is. And the entire DNC machine. And those with access to it and those who use it will rule the world. Make no mistake. We can't run into the woods and stick our collective heads, down rabbit holes or just into the sand. We can't put on blinders and pretend it's not happening. If you want to survive, if you want a future for your kids, better pay attention. We all better pay attention and start figuring out what we need to do to use it in a productive way, a responsible way, in a way that keeps us gainfully employed, in a way that allows us to continue to function in this society so that the human element doesn't become obsolete. We easily could become obsolete, and that's what transhumanism is all about. That's the other crazy, horrifying reality that's facing us. The meshing of artificial intelligence, robotics, with humans to create a transhuman future. It's upon us. Where digital reality becomes part of your physical, biological reality. You integrate, you jack into the system. This is like a combination of Terminator and Matrix. Don't run into the woods, man. Figure it out. I don't have all the answers, but I'm looking at it. Got to figure this stuff out. How are we going to use it? How do we prevent it from destroying us? Don't be afraid, though. Fear not. In this case, the biggest thing to fear truly is fear itself. That's because the fear will drive you underground to a place where you're not involved. You have to drop out of society, and you really will end up owning nothing because you'll be freaking homeless, living in the woods, eating the bugs, or on the street. And that's how they win. What kind of future is that for the kids? That's not the future. The future's coming. The future's here. The technology's here. And think about how fast it's changing. And think about how when you were a kid, when I was a kid, what did we have? Video games came out. Pong. I had Pong. I remember. Boop, 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 boop. So from that to where we're at today, wow. Now, I was born in the 60s, the 1960s. The automobile really didn't become a thing until the turn of the 20th century. Then Orville and Wilbur Wright had the first flight, and then just decades later, we end up on the moon. I know some of you don't believe that, but here we are back on the moon now, India. And I know some of you don't believe that. Whatever. But that robot's real. What really scares me is the military applications for those kinds of things. Like, we are so screwed. They're over there in Ukraine right now blowing up everything and using up all those armaments, but who cares? They're all obsolete. Anyway, they were obsolete 10 years ago. They're sending F-16s to Ukraine. Those planes are freaking ancient. Why do you think they're blowing them up? They got to use them. Get something for them before they become so obsolete they can't even pawn them off on a country like Ukraine. Get them to buy them with our tax dollars. What a game. What a game. Pom Purin says, I like bugs. Do you? Do you really? You like the bugs? At the CNE, the Canadian National Exhibition, we showed you the other night, that they are actually serving bug dogs, hot dogs with bugs on them at the fall fair in Toronto. I mean, it just made me want to upchuck. Wow. Yeah. Pong is fun. I agree. But you think about how fast things evolved from there. It took quite a while, you know. You got into a decade later and you had better quality, video games. You had Galaga and Pac-Man, racing games with cars and stuff, but they were kind of crude at the time. The graphics were kind of, and I was watching the Death Star scene from Star Wars today online, and even the graphics and the special effects there. Now, finally, in my old age, I can see that they're beginning to look a little bit cheesy and dated. That was 1977. And that was really like a part video game come to the silver screen at the time. But artificial intelligence, from this point on, a year from now, oh my. A year from now, it's going to be mainstream. And it will be used in so many different ways. And even in this upcoming election, artificial intelligence, it's going to be a factor. And that is because people are making memes and deep fake videos. They're doing a whole wide variety of things. In fact, they're even writing whole books. There was a book that was released on Amazon, I believe 2 days after the wildfire or the wildfires broke out in Hawaii on Maui. And people freaking out said, well, how can that be? It's a conspiracy thing, whatever Obviously, they planned this because who could write a book in 2 days? Well, artificial intelligence can. And that is exactly what was going on with that book that was published on Amazon 2 days later. Let me see if I can find it for you. There it is there. I believe this was it. There are a bunch of them, actually. Well, I'll just bring up the whole screen and show you. How do you write a book this quickly? Burning questions. This book is a conspiracy, it says. Right here, look at this. Burning questions, Maui wildfire, the fate of Lahaina. It's currently unavailable. Don't know why. This book is a conspiracy, it says. It's free. An exercise in debunking the theory that the mere publishing of a book in a short time is proof of a conspiracy against, because what's happening here is people are writing crap books with with artificial intelligence, getting them to market as quickly as possible to capitalize on public interest in the disaster. So here's this book. You want to check it out? Let's read it for free. See if I can download this thing. Tell you what, I'll take a break. I'll see if I can download a version online that we can see, and we'll read a couple of pages off it quickly so that you get an idea of what they're saying about exactly what I'm saying right here on the Maverick News Channel. I'll be right back. Don't go away.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so I don't have the whole book downloaded, but I do have this. This is a description and preface to it. And it reads, if you download this book, the author says, let me apologize. This book was written as an exercise to demonstrate how quickly a 44-page book can be created with the assistance of AI, uploaded to an online publisher and made available as an ebook or print on-demand book. The purpose of this exercise was to debunk the conspiracy theory that the publication of a book on the wildfires in Hawaii before the fires were even extinguished was proof that the fires were a government elitist conspiracy. There is nothing of any value to read beyond this point because what follows is a bunch of AI-generated text in response to my prompts, along with random rants and bits of knowledge. If you paid for this, I am sorry. But please know I will donate any money received from this to a fund supporting the victims of the wildfires in Hawaii. Ideally, you saw this paragraph first and took the money you might have spent on this book and used it all to support the victims of the wildfire and learned a little about just how easy victims are taken advantage of to support conspiracy theories. Please note that none of the content below is a discussion or criticism of the content of the book these conspiracy theorists are using as a foundation for their argument, nor are they a comment or criticism of that book's author. I have not read the book. I understand the need to be the first out there in today's marketing environment and can understand why an author might take advantage of the opportunity, but I personally am also troubled by the action. As am I. It's kind of like cheating, right? Presenting a book, putting your name on it as though you wrote it. It's like almost like a form of plagiarism because it's written by a computer. And then you turn around and sell it. So anyway, I didn't even know that that's what that was going. I hadn't actually read that. I wasn't even aware that that was out there on Amazon, but that just reinforces exactly what I was saying here. That's what there was a book that came out 2 days after, and a lot of people were like, see, proves it. I don't know what happened in Hawaii. We're still trying to get to the bottom of things, right? And it's a terrible situation, no question about it. But so much crap going on out there, and so many people trying to benefit and exploit the disaster, exploit the suffering. It's actually quite disgusting. And this is just another example of that. Well, not in this case. This person, whoever did this, is not profiting from it, apparently. This book is a conspiracy. Not to say that all conspiracy theories are conspiracy theories. A lot of them do end up being real. I know that. But I also know when something is complete bunk. I do know when there's stuff that is complete bunk. And there's been a lot of complete crap coming out of Hawaii. Yeah, we won't get any deeper into it tonight. Maybe in the nights ahead. But be careful what you're reading and listening to. I've been seeing some stuff that it's really troubling just because it's disrespectful to make stuff up in a situation like that because so many families are suffering. So many people are grieving. It's not right. Okay. What else do we have for you tonight? So we did Chrystia Freeland. I'm going to put that back up, though, because you got to see it if you haven't seen it. There she is, Canada's speed demon. Oh, man. And I made that. Just to let you know, I made that picture. That was me. Chrystia, you can blame me. I did it. It's a joke. But she did get the speeding ticket. What do you think of my Photoshop job? That only took me a minute. Do you like it? Vote now in the chat. Yeah. Wend Darling says, was it Wend Darling? Yeah, it says deaf a demon. Yeah, that's right. Well. Peter says only a face her mother could appreciate. Oh my. So we're going to be going live to cover the GOP debate. We're going to have a bit of a watch party. We have a couple of people, I think, who will be joining us live as well here as part of the watch party. We're going to even open things up so that you guys can maybe join in on the conversation as well. We'll make it a partay. But a lot of, a lot of political turmoil surrounding this because Trump is skipping the debate, as I'm sure all of you know by now. And he recorded this interview with Tucker Carlson, which will air at exactly the same time. So we'll have a challenge on our hands. Do we run with Trump or do we run with the debate, or do we run both at the same time and have everyone talking over everyone else while people comment in the live portion of the call-in show? It's going to be a party. Let's hear what Tucker Carlson had to say in this video posted just before we came on the air to promote what he's doing this evening with Donald Trump. Here he is. Here's the man.
On Sunday, Donald Trump announced that he will not participate in tonight's Republican candidates debate hosted by Fox News in Milwaukee. Whatever you think of Trump, he is, as of tonight, the indisputable far and away frontrunner in the Republican race. We think voters have an interest in hearing what he thinks. So when Trump approached us about having a conversation for a far larger audience than he'd receive on cable news, we happily accepted. That interview will air tonight in this space at 8:55. We hope you'll watch.
Tucker Carlson's X-rated video coming up here on the Maverick News Channel at 8:55 p.m. We'll have it. We'll have it, and we will have the feed of the GOP debate. But over on Fox, you won't hear much about the Tucker Carlson interview. In fact, apparently they've banned even the mention of it by their on-air personalities. Here's this on that. That could be the name of a news program in itself. This on that. This is the Benny Show.
Okay, so this is my question to you: is like, has Fox News even mentioned that Donald Trump? Don't they have an obligation to their audience to note that Donald Trump is speaking with Tucker tonight? I don't think they've even mentioned that.
Well, you would think so. There is a source inside Fox, and I'm telling you this for the first time. Just told me he still works there, that they are totally banned from even, all shows are banned from even acknowledging that Trump will appear on this show. Whatever happens on the show, if Trump breaks news, they can't mention it. There's been a policy in place since Tucker's taken off the air that you can't say his name on air. And he's like Voldemort. He's like that. He who shall not be named. And explicitly, everyone at Fox was told they cannot mention this or what happens on it. I mean, that's very. I mean, there are a lot of really good people at Fox. I used to be on the network a lot. I'm not talking about the executives, but there's a lot of people there who consider themselves real journalists. They're very good people. They take their work seriously, and this is most frustrating to them. They can't report on the news, all because of this vendetta that the network has against its former top host.
Self-imposed censorship at the network. Is it self-imposed? Who knows? Or was this a directive from government in some way? Here's Gary. Does Rick actually think the fire in Maui was natural? The Benny Hill Show. Oh my goodness. Oh my God. Should I even put this on the screen? This is somebody has made an account This is how weird the world has become. Okay, and it's right here in the chat tonight. Look who dropped in for a visit. Yevgeny Prigozhin. Well, hello, Yevgeny. And here we thought you might be dead. And here we're talking about things that are real. What's real? What isn't real? What's fake? What's a construct? Well, I don't know. Is Yevgeny still alive? Here's proof positive. Yevgeny's in our chat. Did you bail out of the plane at the last minute? Just in the nick of time, leaving the others on board to die a painful, fiery death, using their charred corpses as decoys as you made your getaway. And where are you joining us from tonight, Yevgeny? What country are you in? Are you real or are you an artificially created bot? Are you an AI entity? Or are you something that's just digital in nature? And I use the word nature loosely. What are you of you, Yevgeny? What are you? Who are you? It truly is a what are you? Is this creepy or what? Yevgeny has come to visit. Are you a ghost? Is this something mystical? What should we believe? This is what I'm saying to people, you know. Politically, people are under fire because we are a war. There is an information war on. There's a war on for your mind. You think that you're awake. Are you really awake, Gary? Are you awake, Gary? Are you sure that what you think is real? Have you been to Maui yourself? Have you seen for yourself in person what is really going on there? Or are you getting your information from the internet? And if you're getting it from an online source, what's your source? Is it mainstream media, which you don't trust, which I don't trust? Or an alternative source? Where's the information coming from? And is it true? Could it be true? Is it credible? What's the truth? How do you know? What's your methodology in vetting the information? Is it just what makes you feel comfortable, or do you have some real system in place to make sure that what you're viewing is truth? I said last night that in this digital age, truth only has to be true enough today. Doesn't even have to be real, but it can still be true. Because truth can be a construct. I showed you that photo shoot involving that model for Vogue magazine. 2 + 2 = 3 in a graphic on the front of her stylish Vogue dress. Today, you could convince people of that quite easily using the power of social media and psychological manipulation techniques developed over a period of time, decades, through programs like MKUltra, which in itself some people think is a conspiracy theory, but we know it's not because there are actual lawsuits playing out right now, even in the Canadian courts. And we've had someone on this program involved directly in those lawsuits, in this class action lawsuit, that is taking on the US government. So it's a real thing. And isn't that ironic? Isn't that kind of twisted in itself that we're sitting here? We've got Yevgeny Prigozhin in our chat, back from the dead. We're showing you an AI robot. We have a digital future in front of us. We have BRICS leaders sitting around a table talking about developing artificial intelligence, memes, deep fake videos. I'm sitting here telling you that the upcoming election in the US, the presidential election, is going to be influenced. It's already being influenced in bizarre, strange, unprecedented ways because of AI-generated memes and videos and articles and books. And you're pissed off. I can tell, Gary, you're upset, and I'm not criticizing you at all. I'm just using you as just an example of where people's minds, where the headspace is at today, including even mine in many respects, because people are upset. But why are you upset? Because the government's getting you upset. They want you upset. They want you so upset that you'll accept higher taxes and more control and maybe even lockdowns because of climate change. Because if you don't accept that, then you just don't care. You're a climate denier, and the world is going to burn because this is now the age of global boiling. Are you afraid? Are you afraid? Well, maybe you should be, because on the other side, the stories we're getting is that the government is doing it. They're burning people to a crisp, burning people out on purpose for any variety of reasons, which might even include destroying an entire town so they can build it back as a 15-minute city. And I can go on. There's stories online tonight that I know are complete bunk, 100% crap, but maybe some people are buying into them, about the victims and the Marines, military operations. Why would they do that? Why would they get you upset? I said last night that a lot of what we see going on here right now, going on even in Canada, is tied to what's going on in Ukraine, and it is tied to what's going on in Hawaii, and it's all tied together. It's tied to Trump. It's tied to RFK. It's Jr. It's tied to these other candidates in different ways, but it all ties together. You, me, all of us, we're being pushed and pulled and massaged and manipulated, and there's a war on for your mind. And they do it using your emotions. All sides are doing it. And people have gotten to a point where they kind of walk around, like I said last night, with their eyes wide shut. Stanley Kubrick. Check it out. Why do they do it? Because they want you to do things. They want you to react in a certain way. Maybe they want you to vote for this guy or that guy. So they use marketing. But no, they go beyond that. It's psychological manipulation. And they use fear. During the pandemic, they used fear to control you. Stay at home, lock down, wear a mask, stay 6 feet apart. Were you scared? Were people scared? People were scared enough to comply. Well, then the other side must be telling the truth. Must they? Are they that virtuous? Are they that caring? Who's telling the truth? Are they scaring you? Truth. Where's the truth? You know how you tell a good lie? You take a little bit of truth, then you wrap a lie around it. So you suck them in with a little bit of truth. They suck you in with a little bit of truth, and then they wrap a great big lie around it. And you know what it takes to get to the truth? Your mind. All they have to do is convince you that something is true, and it becomes true. Doesn't even have to be real. It just has to be real enough. Hence the phrase, true enough. True enough. True enough. It's not absolutely true, but it could be in your mind. Absolutely true. Saw it on TikTok. That's all it takes. And then you get a whole bunch of people and you get bias confirmation. And the next thing you know, half the country believes something's true that isn't true. It could be, well, climate change. There's an idea that has spread far and wide. Is it true? Do you buy into it? Do you believe it? If you don't, you're a climate denier. Yeah, then they inject a little bit of, coercion on the other side. Groupthink, encouraging compliance so that you have to join the tribe or face excommunication. There's all kinds of crap going on, man. And some stuff is more traditional, right? Like, so yeah, Leo says, play the video that he sent me last night. I'll play it. Because it is kind of funny. This is more what I would say is sort of where is it here? Oh, I have to go to your page. Let me go here. Here we go. Okay. Yeah, right here. This he thinks this is funny as hell. I have to tell you, I guess it's funny, kind of, but it creeps me out. This one I find creepy more than funny, but in its own way, I guess, kind of accurate too. Okay, here we go. What the heck?
The cabinet of my dynasty.
Okay, let me just get it requeued here. I don't know how to requeue this. Hang on. I'll wait till it requeues before I queue it back up. This is Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh of the NDP. It's weird. This is so weird. Hang on. Almost there. Almost there. It's got all the Trudeau cliches. Hang on. I just want to bring it up from the beginning. Here we go. Here we go. It'll play.
I order that my cabinet be shuffled. I've invited a new member to the cabinet of my dynasty.
I swear that I will be faithful to your dynasty, to never cause you harm and to observe my homage to you completely.
Arise, my loyal servant.
In the name of your Father.
I am the Son.
And the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
I come bearing a great gift for you, your dynasty.
Le tabernacle. Calice the tabernacle. This cup contains the blood of my father. Drink from it, all of you. This is the blood of my dynasty, my everlasting covenant.
Justin, I've been rolling over in my grave. You are a tyrant. You are no son of mine. You are the son of a communist dictator.
Holy smokes, you're right. I want to steal everyone's money for the government, turn them into government lovers, and have them obey me. I must certainly be a son of a bitch and a tyrant.
I think it's weird. I think it's just weird. I'm not even sure I get it. I mean, I get some of the cliches. It is funny, but I don't know. It just creeps me out. This is the blood and the blood and the got to. Oh my God, kind of weird. Kind of weird. So, yeah. All right. I'll show you what's coming out of Hawaii that's absolute crap. Okay. And actually, I really don't like it. It bothers me. Don't like this website. It's designed to mislead, and people take it seriously, and it's just absolute shit. Okay. That's just all there is to it. And I know some of you probably go here and get your information here, but it's complete crap. It even says so on the website. Marines neutralized fleeing FEMA convoy in Maui. No, they didn't. 100% complete fabrication. Didn't happen. It's not true. It's just a lie. You know, when I left mainstream media, I had an idea for a television show. My idea, and this is sort of long before we got into all this stuff. My idea was to create a news show that was just completely like a dramatic representation. Not to try to mislead people, but to make it like a primetime drama where you would just make up stories. You could even use some real news footage of, say, fires and burning buildings to cut your production costs, and then tell a story around that footage that was completely fake, like just a fictional account of some story that you make up to just make for a good television drama. Not to represent it as an actual news program, but just actual fake news as drama. Presented as fake news so that people knew it was fake news. But what this website, this is absolute 100% complete fabrication, fake news presented in such a way that people are being led to they think it's true. So people believe that the Marines have gone to Maui and that they are engaged in gunfights with the personnel from FEMA, and that a Marine got shot. That's one of the things that's come out of this. That's one of the posts. So you've got a dead Marine and mass graves where the FEMA personnel are hiding the bodies so that people don't know the true death count. But if the government's doing it and they want people scared, why wouldn't they want people to know what the true death count is? Believe me, don't believe me, it's up to you. I'm telling you, this is complete fabrication. This is clickbait. This is disgusting. When people are suffering, people are putting this crap online, and it's 100%. Like, I mean, I'm not even budging on this a little tiny bit. This is fake. And if that's the case, show me. Show me. They're not showing me. This is a stock photo of a helicopter. This website even has written on it, there's a section in here where it says that much of the content on here is a parody. It's in fine print, so they're covering their ass legally because they make this shit up. And they quote sources that don't exist. And one of the reasons I know this is fake is because I spoke to someone at FEMA. I spoke to sources directly involved in what is going on down there in Hawaii. And it's unequivocally not true. This story is complete BS. But it doesn't need to be true to be true. All that needs to happen is that they need to feed that information to enough people in such a way that people believe it. And if you believe it, it becomes true in your mind. And if it's true in your mind, then it becomes real to you because perception is reality. And if it's real enough to you, if it's true enough, you have been manipulated in such a way that you will react, respond, and do things that maybe you might not do otherwise out of the fear and the anger that has generated within you. It gets an emotional response from you, and that is irresponsible. I am disgusted by it, and I'm calling it out here right now on this program because we are really about truth. Now, do I know what caused those fires down there in Hawaii? I don't know. I know that one of the most likely causes for some of them, or maybe most of them, or I don't know how much of them, but one of the most likely causes is downed power lines that were not deactivated, not shut down the way they were supposed to be because of incompetence or laziness or some other reason. But that's why there is now a class action lawsuit against the power company on the island from the residents. And was the fire? And then beyond that, I mean, you can point to a lot of problems down there, and I agree. A lot of things that need to be addressed. Some people need to be held accountable legally. When I say that, I mean lawsuits, take them to court, charge them if there was criminal activity or criminal negligence of some kind, and they should pay the price after due process. Because we live in what is supposed to be a democracy and a free society. But lies, outright lies, fabrications, designed to exploit the situation, generate donations, because right off the front of that website, they ask for donations. But it's all fake. It's all not true. Does the mainstream media lie and fake stuff out? Unfortunately, folks, I would say yes. So you're not really always getting the truth there either because they engage in propaganda as well. I don't even know. I mean, it's so hard to know what's true, what isn't. I get it. And so as people seek truth, they embrace information that they find to be most credible to them. What is true? That looks true to me. Mainstream media is lying to me, so I'll go over here and get the information. And I'll believe that, because if they're lying, they must be telling the truth. But has it occurred to you that maybe both sides are lying, or maybe the two sides that you're looking at are lying, and maybe the truth is someplace else in the middle or someplace else entirely? That's not the truth. I know that. I'm not sure what we're getting from the mainstream media is true either. I don't know where the truth is on this. Hopefully over time we get to it, but it's increasingly difficult to do that. And all it takes, they didn't need to show you any video, real video, showing you pictures. I've seen fabricated pictures that are also bunk, and I've seen videos of people parroting what was said in that article. Just standing there talking emotionally. But that's not proof. That's just somebody making a video who claims to know. It's not true. They're just pushing that information out there and pushing it further along. I have to tell you, from everything I'm seeing, that's not an accident. That website, that's not just people having fun. That's not just for clickbait. That's part of a sophisticated psychological manipulation. That's a big operation. That's part of a big operation. Whoever is running that, that's part of a psyop. May even be run by the government for all I know. Because what they're doing is driving people crazy and weaponizing mental illness. That's disgusting. You think you're immune? I'm not immune. I have to check myself all the time. Especially because I'm immersed in it every goddamn day right now. And it has been a struggle to keep my head above it. Because you don't know what's true, what isn't true, and I'm swimming through all of this crap. So, as much as I'm against censorship, I actually have come to a point where I do understand why some people have embraced the idea of censorship. It's because of this kind of crap, because it's dangerous. Unfortunately, the same standard is not being applied to the mainstream media and the government itself, and they should be applying it there because they're lying too about so much, if not everything. So until I see it with my own eyes and I come up and I see real evidence and I see stuff that's concrete, I'm really skeptical about everything these days. Even when officials give me the information, I'm not buying much of anything anymore on any side because everybody has an agenda. Everybody's trying to sell you something. Oh, yeah. Be careful, man. Women, children, everybody. Be careful. I don't even know how you can be careful. If you expose yourself to this information and you're not like rock steady, solid, sane, you might be in trouble. They're going to take you down a rabbit hole. And if you do not have all your marbles with you, you might come back with a bag missing a few. Okay. If you come back at all. And I spent some time over the last few days talking to a bunch of people who are missing a few marbles because of exactly this kind of stuff. Yeah. I get it, man. See, this is the government's own damn fault, really. And it's the mainstream media's own fault, too, because they have betrayed the public trust. They're in a position of privilege and a position of extreme responsibility when it comes to the dissemination, the distribution, and the care of information. And they have abused it. And they've been caught doing it. And as a result, people have lost trust in our institutions. And it goes beyond just the media into the court systems, into the political system itself, because they have abused it, because they've figured out that the system actually does work, works very, very well, extremely well. So well that when they got a hold of it, they twisted it, they turned it, they distorted it, and turned it to their own favor to screw us over in so many ways. And they're doing it even now. They want you angry. Both sides want you angry, but they want you angry for different reasons so that you embrace one side or the other, so that you react and do what they want you to do, whether it's to support higher taxes to combat global warming, or whether it's to even rise up, cause chaos in the streets and more grief for the government, to be disruptive, which is a goal as well for anybody that's opposed to the government. Who's opposed to the government? Foreign powers, opposing political parties, political activist groups, all kinds of different organizations with political ideologies that are opposed to the sitting politicians, to the government of the day. They want that government gone, unseated in some way. That means they have to be disruptive. They have to cause problems. And who's going to do that for them? You. So they manipulate you to get you out into the streets. You know what they call that? It's called a color revolution. You know who gets behind stuff like that? The CIA. It's been done in countries all over the world. Do you think that Canada is immune? I'm not. And the beauty of this kind of warfare, this information warfare, is you never know. You don't really know who's behind it. You don't really know who's behind that article or that website or that video that people are watching, that you're being shown, that you think is true. You don't know who's behind it. Don't know. It's designed to be that way. Leaves you confused, but angry as hell. And you ain't going to take it anymore. And then you go out into the streets and you're a pawn. Cannon fodder. And then I showed you that dude last night who wants you to go down to Ottawa on August the 31st and quit your job and exit the system because he's going to abolish all money. Do you believe that? Why would they do that? Because they've got an agenda, man. They want the power. It's all about the power. But then nobody can have the power unless they have you. Because what you have been saying is true. You have the power. The people have the power. The power rests with the people. So if you want power and you want to seize power and you want to be in power, especially in a democracy, you need the people behind you. You need the people to support you. And the first thing you have to do to get them to support you is to stop supporting the people who are in power. So you have to discredit the other side, get people jacked up, get them angry, and take away any credibility and trust that they have in the system, right? So that you tear it all down. Now, I'm not saying there aren't problems. There absolutely are. We need to address these things. We need to address the problems. Man, I'd sure like to know where the hell we're supposed to be going before we get there. I'd like to know what the roadmap is, what the plan. Who's picking up my damn garbage on Tuesday after the goddamn color revolution? What about your health care? What about, I don't know, the local ice rink, the swimming pool, the swimming lessons, the public pool? Who's going to cut the grass at the park after the color revolution? Or whatever it is that they've got planned. Can somebody just tell me that? What's the speed limit? If the whole system gets torn apart and the legal system is gone, everything's gone because apparently it's all corrupt. At the end of the day, what comes in place of that? What's the speed limit? Do we have cops anymore to hand out tickets to people like Chrystia Freeland when she's doing 132 and 110? Oh, here she is, Canada's speed demon, the deputy prime minister. Who's going to give her a damn ticket? And if everything's torn down because she's out of power, I don't even know what the speed limit is anymore, man, because I guess the rule book just got thrown out. Just saying. We can get into it more another night. But if you can tell me at least what the speed limit is and who's picking up my garbage on Tuesday, I'm basically okay. I'm not in need of an operation right now at the local hospital, so I don't need to take advantage of, the socialized healthcare system today. Maybe in a month or two, I might need something. And, some of my relatives, they need a little bit of care, a little bit of TLC from a doc. But if you just answer some of the basic questions, then maybe we can get down to business. I'm not hearing too much of that, though. I'm just seeing a lot of BS from websites where they're trying to scare the crap out of people from morons like this guy. Here, let me share it with you before we get to our guest of the night, heading into tonight's coverage of... Okay, this guy, basically, I'm just going to call him out and say he's full of shit. Sorry, dude, you're full of shit. Here he is. Here's Mr.
Actually, U.S. Marines engaged and neutralized a FEMA convoy in Maui. And I will add at the end of this video a couple screenshots from the article if you want to pause and read for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure.
The convoy was fleeing fire-stricken Lahaina and would have escaped had it not been for the Marines taking it down. The chase began early Friday morning when Marines and FEMA had a shootout in the Maui Forest Reserve east of Lahaina Beach. Wow. According to intelligence reports, the Marines caught FEMA red-handed burying corpses in an earthen grave the feds had excavated with a backhoe. Right. A procession of FEMA agents hauled bodies of men, women, and children out of an M35 Deuce and a half and heaped them on top of each other as federal supervisors stood around smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee.
Right.
So the Marines dismounted a distance away from the camp and they crept up undetected. The Marines took cover and began firing on the feds.
Yeah, you're full of crap.
And a dozen of them fell immediately.
That's a lie.
And then the feds
You're
began
a big fat
screaming,
fucking
saying,
liar.
"Don't shoot.
Liar, pants on fire."
So this is obviously a pretty severe situation.
This is obviously a pretty serious situation because you're lying to people to scare the shit out of them.
Media.
And you're full of crap. And you're a dickhead.
Of course, we all know how reliable they are.
Suck it, pal, because you're pissing me off.
As the FEMA helicopter that had extracted some of the members attempted to flee, the Marines fired 3 grenades from
Really? Did you see this yourself? You're an eyewitness? How the hell do you know?
And one clipped the rotor,
You're
and then
reading the
another
fake
landed
article
in
that
the
I just
open
told
doorway,
people about, 'cause
causing
you're
the
full of
helicopter
crap.
to explode.
No, did it? It blew up. Wow,
So
that's
I'm not
pretty
personally
dramatic.
sure how true all of that really is.
Exactly.
But this seems to be one of the first documented incidents that proves the
It
motives
proves it. But you just said
that
you
FEMA
don't
really
know.
has.
So you're
FEMA's not
covering your
here to
ass
help us.
legally.
They're here to control us. They're here to take
are
our
they?
freedoms away.
Are they?
They're here to lock you up.
Right.
Put a mask back on you.
Sure.
Go take the vaccine.
Okay, you're full of shit.
When I started posting on TikTok years ago and started getting banned, one account after the other,
Right.
you know, I told myself I was going to keep this up because the
Yep.
truth needs to be heard.
Right. And
Somebody
you mean
needs
your
to be
lies.
telling what's
That's a
really going
lie.
on. So when the
Mhm.
shit hits the fan, people aren't surprised. And
Yeah.
I think for the most part now, a
I
lot of
think for the
people
most
are
part,
awake,
you're a
but
dickhead.
nobody really knows
I think
what
you're a
to
freaking
do
liar.
now. Nobody knows
Like,
what
I
the
know
next
it.
step should be.
You're lying.
But one thing I can say for sure.
One thing I can say for sure is you're an asshole. Scaring people, exploiting a situation like this at a time when families are grieving, when people need actual truth, real information. You are an asshole. That guy's a dick. He should be ashamed of himself, but he's not. He just keeps making new TikTok accounts so he can keep lying the shit out of everything. He can go F himself. You can believe him if you want, but that's my position, and I'm sticking to it because I know that in this case, I am 100% frickin' right, because that's the reality. That guy is a fucking asshole. Fuck him.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
I'm back. And joining me live right now is the man himself, Joseph M. Lenard. Hello, sir.
Yeah, hi, how you doing? You know me. Shit is always so serious. I like to interject humor where I can. So, two things.
Yeah.
I'm colorblind, so I'm waiting for the grayscale revolution. But and then secondly, if you think the Wagner boss dying, what a fucking coincidence. An air accident. I have the deed to the Brooklyn Bridge, so I want to talk to you about a great real estate opportunity, but you gotta act now, right?
So what do you think happened to Mr. Prigozhin? Do you think he's actually dead? Is this like some sort of theater psyop, or is he actually croaked?
Just like I said during the coup, whether it was real or false flag propaganda, psyop itself, I don't know. Who knows? We may never know for years to come, right? In war, all sides engage in antics and tactics and psyops and propaganda. He may have not been on the plane and be hidden somewhere. He could have indeed been killed on that plane. I tend to lean towards that as the case. But enemies of the state, any state, takes them out. For Putin apologists to go running around and say, "Oh, it was just a coincidental accident," spare me. And then same thing like with Saudi, we talked about this before, Khashoggi. an ISIL Al-Qaeda propagandist, apologist, masquerading as a journalist, and people, oh my God, they killed Khashoggi, as if Putin hasn't killed how many enemies, people he deemed enemies of him, not even his people or his state. America, I don't doubt Canada has probably assassinated somebody or another here and there over the years as an enemy of the state. And I have no doubt Trudeau would love to take out a few people he deems as his enemies. So spare me, spare me, spare me.
Yeah, well, he's got lots of enemies these days. He's not doesn't seem to be very popular, and even the mainstream media here in Canada over the past week, they've been asking him questions like, "Mr. Trudeau, do you think you have become a liability to your own party? Is it time to resign?" I'm like, "Holy smokes! What happened to the Teflon Prime Minister? Like he's got a few scratches in that Teflon now, man."
Yeah, oh, there's a few dings and dents, and even Joe Biden, too, is not able, with his complicit media, as I call them, to be unscathed. Now, the Hunter laptop is taking hold, despite how much they fight back, and his Ukraine corruption, and again, Biden corrupt, Zelensky corrupt, Putin corrupt. All these things are true at the same time, right? But I forgot where I was going to go with that. So let me pivot and say, for those of you seeing the video here, you could see my background. I finally bought green screen. You can't see it, but I finally got around to buying some green screen because I got tired of whenever I moved, there'd be a bunch, it looked like I was a ghost,
Right.
ghosting. So you could see federal tyranny, the U.S. flag. I had this mural. I hired somebody to do this mural on the garage. The U.S. flag without the stars. God bless America, with G and God whitewashed. What you don't see at the bottom is where it says states and God being erased. That's the federal tyranny. And you, of course, see it there too.
Right. And we're talking about, the reason you're here tonight is to join the party, the watch party, the GOP debate watch party, which is going to be a little difficult for us because while the debate is going on, Trump is going to be, they're going to run that pre-recorded interview with Tucker Carlson at the same time. So what are you expecting to come out of that?
Well, with modern technology and DVRs and recording software, you can record anything online or on TV virtually and view it at your own pleasure at whatever time you want. So people will have access to both. And frankly, I hope they watch both. Now, let me state up front, yes, I am supporting Trump for 2024, okay? Barring any major meltdown or some other foreseen force, Trump has the nomination sewn up. That doesn't mean we should not be paying attention to these other people, because you are limited to 2 terms as president in the U.S., not 2 consecutive terms, 2 elected terms, period. That's the Constitution amendment. There's no way around it. We need term limits for Congress, but that's a whole other discussion. So Trump can only serve 4 years, and we have to pay attention to not just 2024, but what happens 2 years into his, his second term, we hope, and Senate elections will be coming up again. The House, of course, is reelected every 2 years. So 2024, 2026, and yes, pay attention to things now for even 2028 that will matter, because Trump is gone in 2028 if he's elected. Who will take over? Because we've seen it. Biden undid everything Trump did in his first 2.5 years. The Wuhan hysteria, of course, kind of derailed a whole lot of Trump's last 2 years to begin with. And then Biden, of course, then worked tirelessly to undo anything and everything he could do in his first 2 years. So it's going to take Trump, who will be fighting the deep state yet again, 4 years to begin to get anything back to normal. And so we have to not just look at Trump, but what's next, who's next, what's beyond Trump. That's just reality, and some people refuse to deal with it. Like Carter, Jimmy Carter. I've been involved in politics since 1978. I know the disaster Carter was, like Obama, as I call him, Obamao, and Biden now. All three complete disasters, trying to convince you that, hey, economic downturn and slow and you losing ground on your paycheck. Yeah, your paycheck, wow, it went up $5,000. But guess what? You're spending $10,000 more out of your checking account. You lost ground. But they tried to convince you, hey, that's the new normal. So Reagan, it took him almost 6 years of his 8 years to undo the disaster that was Jimmy Carter, the stagflation of then. So it is going to take 8 years to undo a lot of this, and we must be ready. We need a Republican president for at least the next 3 decades solid to get it all really on track and not allow them even one term to undo everything we do, because of course they have the deep state allies. When they are in office, they get cooperation. When we are in office, we get dodge, deflect, distract, distort, deny, block, right? Every step of the way. So we need 3 solid decades of a Republican president to even remotely consider that this nation will get back on track and not fall further down the hellhole the left keeps trying to put us in.
Do you think these indictments will prevent Trump from getting back into the White House?
Yet to be seen, right? You know me, right? I again, I said I'm supporting Trump. Although, let me say this, I do not plan to vote for him in the Michigan primary. And here is why. Again, strategic thinking. You have to think beyond the immediate. So if Kristi Noem gets in the race, Noem gets my vote. If she doesn't, Tim Scott gets my vote. I want a Trump-Noem ticket, but I'll settle for a Trump-Scott ticket and then a Scott-Noem, Noem-Scott in 2028. So that is my strategic voting because, again, barring major catastrophe, Trump has it sewn up. So we've got to think about that. Could these antics by the left derail his chance to get back in the White House? I'm going to give you my honest opinion that I don't think so, but who knows, right? There are a lot of people willing to just continue to eat up the bullshit sandwich that people feed them. They're eager. And oh, wow, this is better than filet mignon. You know, so one never knows. And of course, Trump derangement syndrome, rhinos, CINOs may never vote for him. What matters, the main Republican base is going to be there for him. Democrats, of course, would never be there for any Republican. I mean, look back, John McLean, Mitt Romney. They all voted in our primaries to get them to be our nominee, and then, of course, immediately badgered them about how, them being a moderate wasn't good enough for them. They needed the ultra-leftists. So there's always that. So this is a battle for the independents. And I am of two minds. I think, on the one hand, I always want to see people step up and debate. On the other hand, I've run for office myself. I know how hard it is to get traction, so these other people are probably better off with Trump not there and Trump not debating from his perspective, having it likely sewn up so far ahead. His downside, he only has a downside at this point, one might argue, right? A major faux pas on Trump's part on a debate he didn't necessarily have to attend could only hurt him. But again, I think you need to be there. You need to put forth not just what you did, but what you're going to do to get those independents. You have to position for the general election, not just the primary. So again, just me being honest, giving analysis, not being a cultist for any one person or another. It's always principles, not personalities with me.
What about these challengers, and in particular, I'm thinking about the other front runners, such as they are, like DeSantis and Vivek Ramaswamy, who's gained a lot of ground. I think he's managed to get the most traction of all the candidates so far. Not that he's close to Trump yet. None of them are in the polling, but they do seem to have at least some momentum.
Yeah, well, I want to first say what they're doing to Larry Elder and Perry Johnson is complete bullshit. They qualified. They should be on that debate stage tonight. None of them tonight have a shot in hell of becoming the GOP nominee in 2024. But again, you have to position and prepare and sell ideas and yourself for not just now, but the future. So tonight's debate is still important without Trump being there. And Larry Elder and Perry Johnson, no shot, but I like them both. They have some great things they need to be able to say, and people need to hear. So they should be there. Two candidates, DeSantis and Vivek. All right? I said it already once. I'm going to repeat it. Principles, not personalities. All right? Love DeSantis as Florida governor. Won't support him for president, at least not now. Okay? It has nothing to do with him as a person. He's personally fine. And I saw Carrie Lake attacking DeSantis the other day. All right? And she's attacking him that DeSantis took money raised on his governor race to create his PAC, which is now attacking Trump. Carrie, give me a break. Are you that dumb, or are you just being an idiot here? Politicians do that all the damn time. It's legal, it's within the law, may be upsetting to donors who gave for one purpose and it's being used for another, but it's perfectly legal. I talk about DeSantis on policy, why I'm for Noem for VP. She did not have 1 second of state-mandated masks or 1 second of state-mandated lockdowns in her state. Plus, she was in the Congress like DeSantis was. She's got a perfect constitutional record. DeSantis cannot say that. In fact, in his re-election campaign for governor, Charlie Crist, of all people, attacked DeSantis from the right on his shutdown and mask mandates. So while DeSantis is trying to pretend he never did it, his record is clear, he did it. Now, if he comes out and says, I did it, it was a mistake, I took bad advice, I will never, ever engage in unconstitutional actions like I was allowed myself to be talked into doing, but you saw I did it and I immediately reversed course on that and undid it. Okay? Be honest. Redemption. I'll forgive you if you're willing to admit your mistake. Now again, principles, not personalities. Let me say something about Trump that some people are gonna get all heated in their panties in a bunch about. Trump, Operation Warp Speed. He's still out there saying, get the shot if you want, right? And that's what some who are cultists, not principled, they're celebrity cultists. It's Trump, 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 24/7, nothing but Trump. The world exists outside of Trump. Now, if Trump needs to come out and say, and again, I'm supporting him for president in 2024. This is not stopping me, but his hubris is a problem. Character matters. He needs to change course and admit, yes, I should have fired Fraudchi and Burks and put Ben Carlson in charge. Operation Warp Speed, well-intentioned. I had the best of intentions, but hindsight, it is yet another failed federal government boondoggle joke. It didn't produce vaccines. No one is made immune by these Wuhan thingies. I know we got to be careful, right?
Yeah, and speaking of which, we're going to get off of YouTube and Facebook, folks. So I just put the link to the Rumble channel in the chat on, I think, all the channels, unless you're already on Rumble, in which case you don't need it. You can also go to our website to get to the Rumble channel. Or to actually, you can do that in the header, but the link is in the chat. And also, if you want to join the program and join this conversation tonight, the link is also in the chat. So you can join the conversation with your webcam tonight. Come right on into the studio and be part of the show and exercise your right to free speech as well. And you can express yourself. We're going to be talking about election stuff here tonight. So, if you want to talk about other subjects, then, we're going to say, don't talk about that. We want to talk about the debate.
Yeah.
So that's going to be going on here. But again, let me just put this in the chat for you.
Yeah,
again.
while you're doing that, let me complete my point. My thought is that nobody is perfect. We're all frail humans, right? No king but King Jesus. As our founders said, no king but King Jesus. There is only one perfect being. It isn't anybody on this planet currently. I will call anyone and everyone out on their failings. And Trump needs to show he can grow a set and admit Operation Warp Speed, while well-intentioned, was a failure, as all federal programs usually are.
And Leo Mouth of the South joins us. Hello, sir.
Howdy, 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 ho.
Welcome
from
to
Detroit. I'm Leo from South Detroit, baby. Right across the river.
Yeah, I know a lot of people still don't understand the way the Michigan Mitt works. How do I want to show this? Ontario and Windsor actually swoops in underneath the thumb and is south of Detroit.
Can you hear me all right?
Yep, we can.
It's pretty loud, but yeah, we can hear you.
I can't hear you.
You
I
sound
can hear
like
you, but I really can't hear you.
Oh, you sound like you're in a rainstorm. Is it raining
I'm
there?
in my office tonight.
Yeah, it sounds like you're out in. You sound like a weather person out in the rain reporting.
I'm going to go outside, I think.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just getting the
gonna go
feeds
for a walk.
set up here. So we're about 3 minutes away from the launch of the Trump interview with Tucker Carlson. So I'm going to bring that up as soon as I get the feed established here, guys.
Oh, you know what, Rick?
Building America.
Yeah,
North America.
I never completed my thought on Vivek. Now, I think Vivek may get a bit of a bump from the debate, but I think his support is going to wane. I think he's going to be on the decline soon, and here's why. Especially if Nikki Haley gets shots in on him tonight on foreign policy like I expect she will. Vivek basically is parroting Ilhan Omar, AOC, Rashida Taliban, and the BDS bullshit. Now, I agree we need to reduce foreign aid, but you don't start with Israel. You start with the nations that hate us and openly use that money like idiot Biden wants back in the JCPOA, which Iran will then fund terrorists with. That's where you cut the foreign aid, not first with Israel. And the other thing is Vivek is Hindu, which I have no problem with that. But the issue is he's silent about Pakistan and the terrorists burning Christian churches. Silent. I think those things will hurt him if Nikki Haley gets those digs in on him. He's great on domestic policy. Foreign policy, he's going to have some problems.
Okay.
May I interject?
You certainly may.
I'm a Canadian, so I really don't have any say in the matter in U.S. politics, but I will say this. Nobody has a chance against Trump. The polls are leading. We're 82% in his favor, and the writing's on the wall. Now,
yeah, I said that, Mouth. Barring a major meltdown, Trump has it sewn up. This is not about Trump. This is about after Trump. Trump can only serve 4 years. He's a lame duck the minute he takes office, some will say, and that's partially true. He can't serve another, it's a 2 terms, not 2 consecutive terms. So, yes, so we have to look what else in 2 years in the House, 4 years in the Senate, in the next presidency.
Who's his running mate?
I hope it's Kristi Noem or Tim Scott, but again, tonight's debate partly will potentially affect that. So tonight is still important, even though Trump is clearly going to be the nominee, barring a major unforeseen circumstance.
I think it's great that he's on Tucker Carlson and staying away from Fox and the rest, right? And he's doing his own thing. Because you know what? I do see a landslide victory for Trump. If the elections were to happen tomorrow, people want him back. Okay? And it wasn't the 82 million. We're on Rumble now, just Rumble, right, Rick?
Not yet, but I'm going to dump off now because it's actually ready to get started. So, folks, if you're on YouTube or Facebook and you want to keep watching, you have to go over to our Rumble channel. The link is in the description, or it's in the description in the chat, and also on our website at mavericknews.ca. mavericknews.ca. You can follow us over there. I'm very sorry, YouTube, Facebook, and everybody on there, but we got to go because you just never know what the Trumpster's going to say that's going to get us banded again.
That's if YouTube hasn't dumped us already because I outed the Wuhan jabs. They're not vaccines. Nobody gets immune.